very pleasant evening to you out there. Thank you for joining us on another edition of the program National Talk on ECWA Television International. My name is Joyce Jakarta and we're live on Facebook and YouTube at ECWA Television International. You can do well to join the conversation by dropping your comments on your thoughts on the topic of discussion. Tonight on National Talk, some Nigerians are praising the lifting of a visa ban by the United Arab Emirates following a meeting in Abu Dhabi this week between President Bola Tinubu and United Arab Emirates President Mohammed bin Zayed. On National Talk tonight, we're beaming our light on the impact of diplomatic initiatives on national policies, amongst other issues. To discuss this, I have Honorable Gashom Manasseh. Good evening and welcome to National Talk.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it feels good to have you despite your busy schedule. Let's talk about the impact of diplomatic initiative on national policies, and we'll begin with Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates bilateral ties. This relationship is one that has existed for years, not until just a few years ago, when sometimes in March 2021 when there was visa restrictions, and then people said, oh, it was because of some of the protocols, like due to COVID-19, that they restricted Nigeria amongst other nations, even though the effect was felt also by Nigerians that were there. Their work permit was not renewed, amongst other issues. And I learned that about 500 Nigerians lost their job. But within the week, the Nigerian presidential spokesperson, Ajuri Gelali, said that Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates have established a framework for investment that is worth billions of dollars across multiple sectors, including defense and agriculture. And he said the UAE imposed visa ban on Nigeria, recall, sometimes in March 2021, with a number of diplomatic disputes. And Dubai Emirates Airline also suspended flight operations to Nigeria over Abuja's inability to send the UAE an estimated $85 million in revenue that Dubai said had been blocked in the African nation, and these monies could not be repatriated due to dollar shortages. And like I said, there was also the issue of UAE halting granting or renewing of direct employment. And Dubai is one of the places that when you talk about Dubai, I think a lot of Nigerians can easily relate to, because when it comes to shoppings, holidays, medical tourism, a lot of Nigerians actually tore that part. But since the ban, even if one have to travel to Dubai, they have to use alternative countries that do not have such restriction. And I think that has become a lot of issues, especially for some that are doing business. And no wonder some Nigerians are already praising the lifting of the visa ban and applauding President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for actually stopping by at Dubai and ensuring that this bilateral relationship is back. I just want to get your view. What do you make of this renewed diplomatic relationship?
All right, thank you very much. You see, the first thing to observe here is the pragmatic effort of the president. This really shows a person that is truly ready to serve. Unlike the previous administration, permit me to say that then it was only words without backed up actions. And you see, the president going there himself shows the zeal and the commitment that he has put into this field, rather, to be resolved. But before I go far, let's take ourselves back a little. What does Dubai has that Nigeria does not have? Let's not forget, Dubai is an arid land. That is to say, it's a desert. But how comes Dubai became a haven just between 1980 something till date? And Nigeria, that is so blessed with abundant mineral resources, could not attain such a status? It's a very simple reason: corruption. That is it. And looking at it from two perspectives, not just from the side of the government, also from the side of the citizens. Let me explain this to your understanding. You see, the very reason why we had this issue of visa ban, it started first with the attitude of Nigerians residing at Dubai. It has been said or alleged that many of them there into wholesome habits. Like, some of them are into drugs, some of them into cultism, etc., prostitution, you understand? And then, don't forget that that is an Islamic country. They frowned at it. So Nigerians that go there does that a lot, to the extent that some of them have been deported back to Nigeria to send warning. Their visas were terminated, but yet it didn't stop. That was how it started. Then coming to the issue of the currently detained CBN governor, you know the allegations against him by the DSS. Though then we did not know what was happening, but the dollar that was supposed to be paid into these airlines for them to repatriate is theirs. Though under International Labour Organization and international trade, you don't repatriate your entire profit back to your country. You leave certain amount within the country you're operating. But in the case of Nigeria, they were not allowed to even repatriate anything. That was how also it started. So when you match these two, the Dubai government felt, UAE rather, to some certain extent, they are not benefiting anything from this relationship. Why? How many companies does Dubai owns here in Nigeria? Almost none. But it is Nigerians that invest there.
Very well.
You understand? So if that's been the case, should Dubai nationalize our companies there, the one owned by Nigerians, it is going to be at our own detriment.
True.
So, as Nigerian government was withholding back their resources, they felt this is a way of hitting us back. Then coming back to what I said earlier, where did we get it wrong? Assuming our government did the needed assignment, assuming we develop our own economy, assuming we did not embezzle our resources, assuming we have development plans that we follow. To the best of my knowledge, I think Nigeria have more than 10 development plans that not even one was followed to the latter. So with all this, there is nothing in Nigeria that you would say would compare to United Arab Emirates. Well, the high rate of unemployment here, Nigerians run to Dubai to get employment. Of course, insecurity is here. The rich men go there. I would not forget one of the presidential candidates of Nigeria resides in Dubai. I don't need to mention him, we know him. And he only comes here to come and rule over us and then still repatriate back what he generates from here to enjoy in Dubai. There was something a friend of mine once said. He says that these people are so intelligent because they do not have resources that we have. Though don't forget, we know they have liquefied natural gas. But they try to make that desert a heaven that people will run there. Here in Nigeria, we have the good weather. We have the minerals that we can be able to develop it. But we kept on a daily basis going there. The government only depends on petroleum. Even the revenue generated is embezzled.
I think they have come to the point of realizing that beyond oil, there's something that they can do to actually attract other citizens from other countries. But quickly, I would like to ask you this question. Now, going by this renewed bilateral ties between Nigeria and UAE, what benefits is it to the nation Nigeria? Because people are, I know some people are already applauding, but some people are asking the question like of what benefit in terms of economy right now, even though the spokesperson have mentioned that this is going to have impact defense, agriculture, and it covers areas of trade, industry, climate change, among others. But of what benefit is this? Because I heard you saying that what do they have that we don't have? Or what do they have? Why can't we develop ourselves and be where they are? As it stands right now, what is the benefit of this renewed relationship?
To be honest with you, I see this relationship not as a symbiotic type. It is more of a parasitic, because I see the UAE economy benefiting more than the Nigerian economy.
How do you mean?
Yes, because Nigeria imports almost all finished goods from them, that either the ones they produce themselves or intraport. They import it to be re-imported, to be exported into Nigeria. What do we then export to them? Embezzled funds, unemployment at a very cheap wage. What also do we export? Prostitution. What also do we export to that economy? You understand? So it is their economy that is benefiting, not our own. Look at it this way. Yes, we might say some Nigerians go there for studies. If you observe from records, I think of last month, it is said that Nigerian doctors, almost how many thousands, have migrated to Europe, to England to be precise. And of course, I've known of recent studies that have shown, even on news, that some of the best doctors we have so far are from Nigerians. In fact, a certain politician I spoke with once told me that he went for medical tourism in England and was treated by a Nigerian, a graduate of University of Jos, and he was shocked. He said he ran away from Nigeria to be treated by a Nigerian in a foreign country. You understand? So from this, you'll observe that they have more to benefit than us. Although the rich class, they have their businesses. So if this relationship continues the way it was, it is to their detriment, but not to the detriment of Nigeria. This is the point I'm trying to make here. Not to the detriment of me and you. Me and you, we have Abba clothes that we wear. It is just the name Abba that people don't like. But it is as qualitative as the European clothes. The last suit I bought that is, it was said it is from United Arab Emirates. I checked the label behind it, it was Italian suit. And I was like, wow. Then the one I bought from Nigerian market, Alaba here, it lasts longer than that one. And whenever I wear it, people praised me that I look fine. So I don't see anything they have more than us. You understand? So if left to me, yes, it is good because no country can live as an island. We are hoping to be developed. And if we blocked the relationship between them, there will come a time that when we also start producing, how then do we export it? You understand? So they will equally try to prevent or block us from exporting. That is one of the things. Then secondly, you observe this raw also, there is the issue of Air Peace, or is it Air Nigeria, and the Emirates airline. Of course, you know, one of the major sources of income of UAE is aviation. While Nigerians, we destroyed our own by ourselves. So they don't joke with that. So tampering with that source of revenue and trying hard that our own flight should begin operation there. You see, in commercial world, I read economics, don't mind me. Wow. In commercial world, we could be friends, shaking hands, discussing, gisting and laughing, but we are enemies behind doors. Wow. You understand? So anything that will bring any little defect to their source of income, they will not take it lightly. So that is part of it. They don't want these airlines to operate. And I'll tell you categorically that one of the reasons why we don't have airlines in Nigeria is because the countries that are depending on aviation as a major source of income will see this as a threat to them. That's true. So they wouldn't like that. Like you hear Obasanjo last week crying foul that multinational corporations have refused to repair our NNPC refineries. Why? So that we continue to import from them. So that is part of the reason.
Indeed. You know, this historic agreement has been tagged that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the UAE government signed. Like I said, for some people, they're already rejoicing because there are some Nigerians out there that are actually studying. You know, the how education over here can be a course of like 4 years. You end up spending 6 years. You go to school, you don't know when you're finishing. So for some people that might have want to access the visa to study and all of that, I think this is good news for them. And for some that are already into business, but those restrictions affected them, I think by this time they'll be dusting their visas. And those that their contract, like their job permit was not renewed, they are going to be celebrating, because it was almost like discrimination against them, their rights to actually work, because of the ban that has been existing. And you know, Dubai, like you rightly mentioned, is a place that the UAE in general is a place that a lot of unpatriotic Nigerians have actually invested a lot money that have been stolen. You talk about the real estate, talk about businesses. Some have taken built businesses in such in the country, something they will have done in Nigeria, and then it will be beneficial to the unemployed. Sometimes I just wonder, so this money that you keep taking to other to foreign banks, why can't you just develop your own country or your own local government, for example, and then employ people in your own state? But of course, some of the sources of such funds are not gotten the right way. Obviously, why they always take it to foreign accounts, and these people are not unaware that the monies are looted funds. You get, and no wonder they come up with policies that might not be beneficial to you at the end of the day. But let's quickly talk about the impact of insecurity on foreign investment in general, because we are talking about, oh, now there can be investment. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been traveling, he was in China, he was this, all in line with his foreign investment policy or agenda and all of that. But we know that insecurity have over the years been a threat to foreign investors. Just within the week, we learned that about 4 people were killed in Sokoto, 18 abducted. With this continuous attack, some months back it was Plateau, the occurring attack in Mangu, Barkin Ladi and other parts of the state, Niger, kidnappings, the northeast, and then other parts of the country have suffered continuous attack. Do you think with these reoccurring issues around insecurity, it's still going to be appealing? We know that person have been traveling, talking with people. Will the country still be appealing to foreign investors to come and invest?
Well, I think it is one thing to appeal. It is another thing for them to come. And then it is more important, or importantly, for Nigerians to have the purchasing power. Let me explain this. When Nigerians do not have the resources to buy the goods and services produced by these investors, it means their aim of coming into Nigeria has been defeated. Are you getting me? So what am I trying to say here is, if you make the economy in such a way that you and me can have resources at our disposal, then it means me and you, this you seated here, we will begin to demand for more goods. And then by the time we consume our own goods and it is inefficient, that is when we will require additional source. Are you getting me? But where we are not really equipped financially, even if the investors come, they come in vain. That is one. If we like, we should hire the best military personnel from the United States, come and train our own personnel. If Nigerians are poor, insecurity, mark my words, will never ever stop. Just last week, I was coming out of my house. A young man was tied to a tree. 3 of them, they were lynched, almost burned, before policemen came to their rescue. In the afternoon, I was strolling down the road. I saw some young men again beaten, taken to the police station. I came back discussing with my wife. First thing in the morning, the following day, I was called by some men outside that, behold, some boys were caught on my own fence. Within the space of 24 hours. What do you think is the cause of this? Between January and today, the hardship has increased. I am not justifying what they are doing. Are you getting me? So if you tackle poverty, tackle unemployment, you have already tackled insecurity to the barest minimum. And again, you will not have to woo investors. If people are employed, gainfully employed, they have money at their possession. My sister, if you have money, you don't need to come and stand at the front of your house to call people selling that they should come you want to buy. If they know you have resources, they will come by themselves. So these people will rather come and beg us to invest, not the other way around. We are begging now, they are refusing to come because they know we don't have the purchasing power. You get me? They know we don't have some structures on ground like electricity to produce. Now I was discussing with the barber. He told me now that if I'm going to shave using generator, that he will shave me for 600. If I'll cut my hair full cut, is 1,005. So tell me, how many people can afford that? So when we have electricity, you don't need to beg some companies to come in. Are you getting me? And of course, when they come in, how many companies have rolled out of Nigeria back to Ghana? Because our purchasing power has dropped drastically due to poverty. And this poverty, it is induced poverty on us by the people in government.
All right, listening to you carefully earlier on, you talk about the fact that these are things that we can do here.
Yeah.
Started the example of the man that went out of this country to be treated for medical tourism, and it was a Nigerian
graduate of
University of Jos that treated him. When you check, like I said earlier on, what do Nigerians go out there for? Holidays, shoppings, medical tourism, among others. When we talk about bilateral ties in general, cut across political, cultural, economical, and for Nigeria, with this renewed relationship, we're told that it's going to affect sectors like defense and even agriculture. But
do United Arab Emirates, do they produce any military hardware? Innocence here in Nigeria produce military hardware. In fact, 6 or is it 7 African countries here make direct orders from Innocence. It is only late last year that Nigerian army started patronizing Innocence. So tell me, United Arab Emirates rely on United States of America for military hardware. So what defense are they going to give us?
So how can we look inward? How can we look inward to develop our own self rather than just being the begging bowl, going round nations trying to woo investors or trying to renew some relationships? How can we look inward? Because some years back, like the Nigerian ECWA was working, and it was like working well, and then all of a sudden it's gone. Now we are trying. We're talking about the Emirates Airlines working, visa ban, cancel. Obviously, people now start applying to go for education. Others work because of the issue of unemployment. How can we look inward now and develop our nations rather than going to and fro?
Thank you for this question. You see, the truth is, like I said, this problem arose because of 2 factors. I said the government, people in government rather, and we, the citizenry ourselves. Coming back to ourselves, first of all, I was passing by around Young Tire here at Terminus, just here, and the Limi site. You could see some boys there really working hard with their hands, developing some tools. In fact, you would see them making buckets, you understand? So many things they are producing. Are you getting me? But I and you, like I said earlier, we would not like to patronize them. We prefer the one that we see made in South Africa, made in America. How do you want these boys to develop? It is a continuous patronage that will give them more resources. And then, in return, they will also develop. You know, a continuous production, you have more insight and invention for improvement. Are you getting me? That is one aspect. Then the second one is, we are just so lazy in Nigeria. One time the former president said this, and the youths were all on him. Each time I go back to my place of growth, that is where I grew, I will see my friends that we grew together. When they see you, they are senior man, begging. You see somebody with gray hairs calling you senior man, 5, 6, 7 years older than me. They have reduced themselves to just being idle, blaming the government for unemployment. What have you done for yourself? So we need what? Reorientation, first of all. That as little as it is better than begging. So we should start by putting in a little effort. That is one. Then secondly, our education curriculum. I was in the university, they brought a very useless topic, course, the entrepreneurship. Pardon me for calling it useless. We'll just go, they'll teach us some theories, bring some irrelevant theories for us to learn. While if I watch Al Jazeera or BBC, see Chinese firms, see Japanese firms, you see young children at the age of 10 already going to learn trade, already learning technical works. You understand? But here, we put our children to school during vacation, school, coming back from home, lesson teacher, and sleep. They should read and read and read and read while we embezzle and keep for them. We need reorientation. Then again, coming back to the side of government, like I said, this curriculum should be changed in such a way that there should be a practical work. When you learn the theory, you go for the practicals. I've seen schools like Butex we have here in Jos. It has died, would I call it a natural death, or due to mismanagement? I don't really know what name to call it. But I went to the school last year. It has decayed. Not that it is at the point of decay. It has decayed. It is just a shadow of its old self standing there. So these are some of the things we took for granted. And again, I still emphasize, when the government put emphasis on importation rather than looking inward, let me explain this very well. President Muhammadu Buhari, that is the former president of Nigeria, tried to work on this by saying we should patronize homemade goods. I agree with him. I agree with him quite well. But like I said, since we are far behind, we shouldn't just block our borders. Encourage our domestic production first. How do we do it? Tax incentives. Are you getting me? If somebody says he wants to go into business, you don't just say people should send their names and account number, you emboss. No. Go and see what they are doing. Invest in the business itself. Are you getting me? Then through Nigerian promotion, export promotion, government can come in, help export these commodities. But before export, why are we even so in a rush to export when we have not produced what it is sufficient enough to meet our own consumption? We have problem with yam some years back when they started exporting yam. And the yam that we are producing in Nigeria is not meeting local demands already. We started exporting it. You meet inflation. I get me. So when the government put these measures on ground, the education we're talking about, like I said, it mustn't be the formal education. People can learn trade. Is education.
True.
I get me. Then empower them, give them tax incentives. Then the equipments they need for production. Of course, if we don't produce it locally, then give it, let's even say zero tariffs on importation of those equipments. That is how we will start. But we don't just sit down and we say it will help us, Dubai will. No. It is for their own sake, not me and you. But maybe one day, if I reach that status, maybe my thinking will change.
Well, while we applaud the president talking about Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I think it is very important that we look inward, we develop our economy. we ensure that the Nigerian airlines too are up and working. It's also important that we support, like you rightly talk about, people that are into SMEs, people that are doing things on their own, things that we import, but they are doing it right here. It is very important that they are being empowered, they are being given some forms of loan support,
in fact,
so that they can
you
do.
are a woman. How would you feel your husband comes back home every evening with a packaged food? How would
I should be empowered to do it myself, right?
Very simple.
Well, I think we should go on this quick break. When we return, the conversation continue. It is National Talk. Stay with us. In case you're just joining, this is National Talk on ECWA Television International, and we have been discussing the impact of diplomatic initiatives on national policy. I've been doing this with Honorable Gashon Emmanuel, and indeed Manasseh. Sorry, I just added a third name. Thank you. I've been doing justice to the topic. You did justice to that. But quickly, I would like us to talk about education in Nigeria. Earlier, we're talking about UAE and how that a lot of people are there to study. We have Nigerians there that are studying, and in Nigeria, the common thing you hear that has almost turned to a cliche for an average Nigerian student is, "I wish I can just japa and just study elsewhere and then just come back," because like you're so certain that once you are in school at a so time you're going to be graduating, unlike back home when you get admission, you don't know when you're finishing because of issues of strikes back and forth between the ASU and then the federal government at state level. The same thing, polytechnic, colleges of education, back and forth, and it's almost discouraging that people just say, "Oh, maybe I should just drop out," even though we have people that drop out. Like currently now, there have been protests by not just the students, even their parents, following the increase in charges, while the federal government are saying, "No, we didn't increase, tuition fee is actually free," but the charges that usually come, the long list of charges have increased following the fuel subsidy removal. Now, federal government, through the Minister of Education, is saying we are hopeful that there will be increase in the budget for education. You know, over time, when ASU are on that table with federal government, the conversation is always, we are far below the international standard when it comes to budget allocation. It's always between 4 to 5% of the budget. And now the Minister of Education recently in Abuja during the conference, one of their conference, was talking about the fact that, see, he's hopeful that federal governments would increase this budget allocation of education, and maybe at the end of the day, these issues of strike and demands back and forth is going to end. So Professor Tahir Maman says that he's hopeful that Bola Ahmed Tinubu's commitment to increase the budget allocation by 25% is going to come. So Nigerians should anticipate that. Just quickly, I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, according to UNICEF, in the budget of a country, 25% of the budget should be allocated to education. I get me. Nigeria's budget as of last year, it was only 5.6 or 5.8% of the budget was education. So we are almost 20% below. Are you getting me? So now with what the minister said, that they are going to increase the funding by 20%. Take note of that word. They are increasing the funding, but he didn't say that education will get 25% of the budget.
True.
Are you getting me? So some people are already clapping their hands. Sorry, that's not what it meant. It meant if last year Nigeria's budget for education, assuming the 5.8% was 100 naira, and we're increasing it by 25%, it means a quarter of 100 naira will be added to the amount of last year. That is just what it meant. So we shouldn't clap. For me, it is still not enough. Why did I say it is not enough? There is no country on earth that can develop without education. No country can develop without education. And of course, if we continue with this kind of expenditure, the truth is we are lying to ourselves that we are putting developmental plans on ground. Then it means we are going to rely one day on foreigners. Like when Nigerians used to have Ghanaians. I remember when I was in secondary school, I was taught by some Indians. I get me. Then it means we have to rely on them to teach us one day. But either way, we have the rich class that sent their children abroad to go and study. So they'll continue to come and become professors. While my own children and your own, that is if they can afford the education, then they'll go to school. That is a topic of discussion for another day. But for me, to be honest with you, I still don't understand what the president meant by removal of subsidy in the name of using part of it, I get me, to finance
talk about that because
education.
The issue of the fuel subsidy was more like humongous part of our money as the country is going for fuel subsidy at the detriment of other sectors of the economy like health, education and infrastructure. But quite unfortunate that even after the removal of the fuel subsidy and the savings of trillions, we are expecting that, oh, education is going to be affordable, it's going to be accessible. But with the resumption of new semester or new session, we are seeing protests across the country. Amidst this economic challenge, now we're seeing that institutions are increasing their tuition fee or their charges, because it said that tuition is free. Charges is being increased. We saw protests, even though earlier today we heard that the Lagos State universities have actually reversed, they have like reduced the charges by 20%. But then, so people are concerned. So what's the essence of the removal of the subsidy if we cannot feel the impact in other sectors of the country?
Please let me come in this. You see, I've been a politician for years, I think, since from far back as 1999 till date. And apart from that, I've been a teacher also at the same time, because I've been doing politics and in the education sector. Are you getting me? So there is something that I know I once emphasized to my boss then when I was under him. I was the dean of studies of his school, Professor Ike to be precise. There is this certain young man who we are supposed to recruit by then. So he lay emphasis that the young man doesn't have a degree. He only have a diploma. And I told him, I know this young man. Please forget about the certificate. Employ him. He said no. I said no. I went out of my way to vouch for him. I insisted he should employ the young man. He employed him. As I'm talking to you, this young man, it was this professor that allowed him to go and further his education. He doesn't want to allow this young man leave. Why am I bringing this? Nigerians lay emphasis on certificate rather than efficiency. I am not saying education is bad. No. But education mustn't be the formal education we are talking about. There are different forms of education. Skills acquisition is education. I get me. So I am thinking, if it were me, the money shouldn't just be spent on tertiary education or secondary schools rather, but other forms of education that will equip people to become good manpower for economic development. I get me. That is what I call education. It is only in Nigeria here that you go into an organization and then somebody that without him, I think the organization cannot run for a day, is receiving the least wage because of what? Certificate. Then somebody that will sit down in the office only to sign. I'm bringing this so that you see why so many Nigerians are clamoring for certificates.
And no wonder the death of most of our parastatals.
Abroad, like when you go, the first thing they ask you in interview is, what can you do? It's not, what certificate do you have? What can you do? That is a test of IQ. Then they bring the field you have studied, put it into practice, let us see. And you are paid according to your efficiency. So if that is employed here, I bet you this issue of clamoring for university degree will die a natural death. People begin to acquire some certain forms of education that will be beneficial, that will put food on their table, rather than, it is only of recent that I begin to see many fast foods here in Jos. People begin to go and learn how to do, what do we call this cooking that women learn? People go and learn at Women Education Center there, they go and learn cooking, chef, whatsoever, catering. They go and learn catering. I've begun to see now, if you observe, Mr. Biggs is dying a natural death. So many ladies have their own fast food now. Are you getting me? That is education. They just went there and learned it for 6-7 months. And that is all. It's paying their bills now. It's putting food on their table. That is what we are talking about. You mustn't go and acquire BSc. When you finish, they'll tell you, no, you need MSc. After MSc, you need PhD. For what? Get the knowledge that you require for the job, but not only the certificate that you require.
I know that some private organizations or company, when you come, they ask you, what can you do?
That is it.
Beyond what you have on paper, because we have a lot of people with the paper qualification, yet they can't even defend what they have. We have instances where people even buy the certificate. No wonder there's no efficiency. No wonder you go to some companies, some organization is literally going down because the people that there have the paper, but they cannot give in efficiency. So I think, like you rightly said, beyond the paper qualification, even though we know that the Minister of Education, Professor Norman, actually was, while declaring the 2021-2022 Nigeria Annual Education Conference in Abuja, that was on Monday, that he made mention, expressed that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's commitment to increase the education budget. But beyond the increase, we want to see that technical colleges are actually revived, vocational schools are revived, so that people will learn beyond just having paper qualification. They will learn skills that they will go out there, they will be able to not just fend for themselves, but they will also contribute to the development of the country.
Will rise to the level of being the president without the BSc. Then who told you that you must have a BSc to succeed? There are other forms of knowledge that you just require to become whoever you want to become. So if we lay emphasis only on academic education, we are getting it wrong. And like I rightly said, okay, if we say we are going to invest 25% on education only, then what about the people learning the salonists? How would they benefit them from the removal of the fuel subsidy? How would they benefit?
Indeed, that's a big question. So I'll quickly draw your attention. Earlier on, you mentioned that you are a politician. As way back as 1999, you started this. And though ahead of the 2024 governorship election, of course, we know that some states do off-season election, Kogi, Ondo, Edo, and for Edo, they have been on the media somehow for the wrong reason when it comes to politics. Either the deputy governor, talking about Shoaibu of Edo also wanting to contest, defecting, having clash with his boss, talking about Obaseki, and over 30 people coming out to show interest in becoming the issue of zoning one thing or the other. We saw also in Ondo State how that some members of the main opposition party are defecting to other parties, all in a bid to actually get that seat of governor. But beyond all this, usually that's what we see when election seasons are coming. A lot of posters, people showing interest, people coming out, people becoming enemies because of that position. Beyond all the hula back and forth, what should people look out for? Because we just did 2023, about 28 states had their governorship election. Some are currently, as we speak, they are still in court and judgment, awaiting judgment, and some are saying, oh, this is the mandate. Some, oh, that's not our mandate, and all of that. But what should we look out for, and how can we avoid some of the issues that we had in this 2023 election? How can we avoid it next year and even towards ending of the year when Kogi also be holding its own election?
Well, you see, the issue of Edo, like you rightly said, is not a new issue with Nigerian politics. This is because the issue between governor and a deputy governor, president and a vice president, in Nigerian context, it's very difficult to explain. Why? You see, ordinarily, if I'm contesting for the governor of Plateau State, and if I should pick you as my running mate, what this meant is I'm vouching for you that in my absence today, you will fit in perfectly. Are you getting me? So I see no reason why if tomorrow you want to contest, I should say no. Are you getting me? Keep that aside. You see, the politicians, they don't look for efficiency when it comes for choosing running mate. They only look for who will bring votes. Most of them, that is what they look for. Some of them even go as far as even entering into agreements. Are you getting me? So the first thing is, you see, because they are so eager to get votes, of course you are from a certain tribe that I know they have block votes. I should pick you as my running mate. I am wooing votes from your locality. That is the first consideration most politicians have. Are you getting me? Then the second one that they normally have is, having picked you as the running mate, due to one reason or the other, you see, one thing about people that don't perform very well. Me, I know in leadership that a good leader is somebody that has mentored somebody. Are you getting me? So that in your absence, in fact, not only in your absence, they will retire you. Yes, they will retire, they will tell you, go and rest. You have taught us well, and they proceed from there. But in Nigerian case, because we want to remain in power at all costs, we don't want somebody to succeed us. That is why we normally have the problem between the running mate and the actual flag bearer.
It's more like there's no trust.
Yes.
In most cases, that's
because the marriage before was not on trust. It was not a marriage of truth. It was just to win election. I get him. If I just meet you on the road, I say, let's marry. You say, okay, we should marry. Like NYC those days, they say, if you marry during your youth service, the government will sponsor it. We've heard of some people that got married during, so that they'll get those money from government and they disappear. I get him. So this is it. They just met on the road and pull out their strategies to win election. They don't have the same ideology.
I hear a lot of people say, oh, politics is about interest, and politicians too, it's always about interest.
I'm still coming to that. So you see, this is one of the reasons that brings that issue. Then coming to the same issue of deputy running mate and this, because the governor doesn't want to lose out completely of relevance. He would want somebody he would control. That is why they would prefer to bring somebody that they will fix there. They think that they are the gods that chooses who becomes their successor. Well, some people, to some certain degree, I agree with them because they have worked with their deputies. They know their inefficiencies. They have decided to choose someone, and they have performed credibly well. In some states, I don't want to mention it here so that it won't look as if I'm singing their praises. You understand? But sincerely speaking, like I said, I see no reason why I should pick somebody as my running mate if I would not want you to succeed me. And the reason why they are having this feud is because they don't want to do free and fair contest. Allow a free and fair level ground. You want to contest? Yes. Go ahead and contest. You understand? We have the electorates there. They will choose from primaries to general election. If you win, fine.
It almost looks like gladiators are the ones that have the final say. For example, in Edo, the likes of Oshomole, the immediate past
Edo
governor.
State, I don't want to talk so much about it because this governor, to me, he is a dictator. I know he is one governor that only inaugurated few elected members of his legislative body, that is the legislative arm. He refused to inaugurate the remaining because they are not in his camp.
Okay, since we are looking forward to the 2024 election,
what should we be looking at?
The citizens play, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that will go out there to vote. Beyond all these things that we are seeing, what role and what should they look out for?
When I come and tell you that I will build hospitals, I will construct roads, I will build bridges, I will stop the crisis in Mongo local government and Riambarking Ladi, and you clap, hey, during Christmas I'll give you 10 bags of rice. In fact, now start receiving 1 bags, you clap, hey. That is a bad politician. He is a liar. Don't vote for him. But if I should tell you that I will construct a road between this street to that street, and this is how I will generate the money, this is how the road is to be constructed, that is a sincere person. These are the people we should be looking forward to electing them. Somebody that will come with 10, 15, 20 plans that he wants to implement in the state, run away from that person. He is a liar. But if he mentions 2 or 3, that if he works on them, the multiplier effect on other sectors, go for that person. If I tell you that I will make sure that electricity becomes 24 hours, 7 days in Nigeria, you clap, hey, without telling you that I know Kainji Dam. These are the problems there. These are what I intend to do. I didn't say that. I only told you that there will be. That is what every politician has been saying since 1960 Nigeria up to date. And have we seen any change? So when somebody says, I will do this, he should show you the way he will follow in doing it. That is the way.
Thank you so much, Honorable Gashon Manasseh. Indeed, it was a nice time with you, talking about all these issues that affect the nation, Nigeria. And I do hope that ahead of the off-season elections, that citizens will look beyond political affiliation, beyond some sort of rise.
Nigeria today. Tribal politics, religious politics is there. I get me. But I kept saying something. A particular state in Nigeria here suffered attacks, suffered ethno-religious crisis. But in fact, they hated so much with passion a certain political party. I get me. Then a candidate from that party that they hated so much emerged. For the love of that candidate, they voted massively for that party. That is why I call Benue State a true democratic state now in Nigeria. They vote beyond religious line. They vote beyond party. They vote for who they believe in. If other states will replicate that in Nigeria, I think we will move forward.
Indeed, we will move forward. So beyond religious, ethnic affiliation, look out for somebody that has character, someone that is competent, someone that has principle, and somebody that is able and willing to deliver on the dividends of democracy.
That is big English. Somebody that will be doing it.
someone that has actually been doing it. Thank you so much for making our time to speak with us. And to our viewers out there, thank you so much for staying with us on this edition of National Talk. Until we come your way next week, do remember that democracy is the theory that common